Hello everyone. This is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. We are at the finish line, guys. Today we are looking at the day 12 of the 12 Days of Stitchmas Crafty Advent Calendar with Spellbinders. By the way, I'm also on the Spellbinders YouTube channel with this video. I'm sharing a tutorial as a part of the Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas Advent Calendar class. There is a video tutorial, a project tutorial for every day of the Advent Calendar featuring different artists, different card makers. So if you want to see more inspiration, and I'm sure you guys do, hop on over to the Spellbinders YouTube channel. I have a link in my video description below. Okay, let's go ahead and open the Advent Calendar and take a look at day 12. Okay, you guys ready? Let's dive right in. Let's open this and look at this die design. Although I will say I already know what it is, because if you look on the back, we've had sneak peeks. We've had 2 sneak peeks, gorgeous sneak peeks. And since we've already opened all the other dies, all the other windows, and we didn't see this guy, that's the guy that we're getting. We're getting a nutcracker in today's window. And yes, I was correct. Okay, let's take a look at these dies and take a proper look at the dies included in day 12. Looks like this is a pretty big die, or maybe I should say a pretty tall die. This certainly is a die with a whole bunch of pieces. I feel like I'm going to go back to my packaging to refer to the packaging and make sure that I assemble this correctly. Anyhow, this is just like a quick glimpse at the parts and pieces we have here. Okay, I'm going to pause my video, think about my card design, think about the colors that I want to use, and I will be back in a bit. I have done all of my die cutting off camera, and I'm going to show you each piece or each grouping of pieces as I assemble them. So these are parts and pieces to assemble the hat and the crown, or like the hat detail. We have this piece, then we have this piece. So I cut this one from brushed black. This one was cut from gold glitter cardstock from the Treasure cardstock pack. And then we have this piece. And this piece you can cut with or without the stitching detail. If you cut it without the stitching detail, it looks like this. If you cut it with the stitching details, it looks like this. And you can opt to stitch it or to skip stitching it. I am going to do a little bit of stitching for my nutcracker, but I'm not going to stitch all the pieces because I often like the look of stitching dies without stitching. So let's go ahead and assemble the pieces. I'm going to add the gold piece to this black piece with the die cut stitched detail. Not going to add stitching, but you can if you want to. Okay, and then I'm going to add this onto the hat piece. I'm using glue. This is Barely Art glue. I like this glue because it has a very fine nozzle, and when you're working with the stitching die, you know that you have little areas around the stitching holes that you have to be kind of very careful with when you're adding glue so that the glue does not ooze out from the sides. Okay, the hat is ready. Now we do have this little piece from this die, and this creates the little itty bitty semicircle at the top of the hat. So I'm going to glue that one right on there. Okay, perfect. Our hat is ready. Next, let's assemble the face. So we have this die. I cut this from fawn cardstock. We have this die. I cut this from black, and this goes behind the face to create all of the facial features. It just makes it easier this way. If you don't want to do that, you can also do inlay die cutting and simply die cut the face from different colors of cardstock and then just inlay them into the open areas. For example, maybe you want the eyebrows to be white or gray so that your nutcracker looks a little bit older. You can definitely do that. Now, there is a line etched or pressed into the die cut at the top there, and that indicates where the hat needs to go. So I've just added a little bit of glue there, and I'm going to glue my hat on top like this. Now, we also have these two pieces, and these caught the hair for our nutcracker. My hair, or the nutcracker, the hair on my nutcracker is going to be gray. This is Spellbinders Fog cardstock. I wanted him to be slightly older, so hence why I'm using gray. I'm not sure if I'm adding these correctly. Am I or am I not? Tell me. Maybe I need to change these. Yes, I feel like this is going to look better if I flip it. Okay. On the packaging, the example shows the nutcracker with black hair. So you can do that too. Or, you can go with a dark brown. You have options. With this die set, you have a whole lot of customization options. Okay, the head is ready. So we're moving from the head down, and now we're going to assemble the torso. So this die cuts the body. Then we have this die with an insert, with a drop-in, and this one cuts the detail piece for the shirt, and you can stitch it or you can decide not to stitch it. I am going to stitch mine because I feel like this is where you would actually want to have the stitching. So I'm just going to do some real quick stitching. If you have never done stitching before, but I'm sure you have, because this is day 12 of the Stitchmas Advent calendars, I'm sure you've done stitching on at least some of the days, and even if you're a complete newbie, you are probably already familiar with how to do the stitching. I am using the DMC thread. This is Diamant Gold. You can find this on the Spellbinders website. I'm using a needle for stitching on paper. It's a dull needle, so it makes it very easy to do stitching on paper. I can be sure that I'm not going to poke my fingers. And I also have a needle minder. This was included in the last year's stitching add-on kit. This year there isn't a stitching add-on kit, but if you participated last year, you already have it. If not, and if you want it, you can grab that stitching kit to have the needle minder. The stitching kit includes a whole bunch of other things like thread and needles and cardstock and embellishments. It's a great value kit if you want to do some more stitching. And if not, you can just use a simple magnet to hold your needle in place. That will do just as well. Okay, I'm just following the lines that are pressed into the paper by the die that was used to cut this piece out. And voila, you can see that I'm done. This was super quick, super easy. It didn't take a lot of time at all. Okay, I'm just going to try and secure the thread on the back, and that's always a little bit tricky because this is such a small piece. It's a little tricky to do. I have my Spellbinders tape dispenser, and I have my Best Ever Craft tape. I'm using the narrow version, and I'm going to see if I can use that to tape that. Yes, so I was able to tape my thread from the back. You can also tie it into a knot or add a dab of glue. Everybody does it a little bit differently. I also do different things depending on the type of the piece that I'm stitching, also on the size of the piece that I'm stitching. So this is now done. I do have a backer piece for this. I don't know if I need it or not. I did cut it just in case. I don't feel like I need it. I'm going to now go ahead and adhere this onto my red piece. Like I said, I have my Stitchmas Advent Calendar packaging off to the side, and I'm glancing at it all the time to make sure that I'm assembling my nutcracker correctly. So looks like this piece needs to be adhered like so. Okay, and I'm just going to set a magnet on top while the glue is drying. While that's happening, let's look at this die. So this one is the piece that goes over the shoulders, and I cut mine from gold glitter cardstock. And again, I'm going to use glue to add those pieces onto my nutcracker. Because we have so many pieces in this die set, we can really customize the different colors, and we can really, make our nutcrackers unique. Okay, now I can also go ahead and adhere the head like this. And again, there are lines etched onto the paper or imprinted onto the paper by the die, and these lines tell you where every piece needs to go. Next, we have these two pieces. It's this die and these two pieces. So these were cut from the Spellbinders fern. These were cut from the Spellbinders brushed white. And these create the arms for our nutcracker. Again, you have lines indicating where everything goes. So I'm just going to quickly assemble those using Barely Art glue and my little trusty crystal katana tool. You want to make sure you have some sort of a pickup tool to be able to pick up and handle these tiny pieces. Also, if you're not sure what colors of cardstock to use, go ahead and search for Nutcracker illustration on Pinterest. This is what I do, and this always gives me a whole bunch of details, a whole bunch of ideas for my projects. Okay, look at that. He's starting to look complete. Of course, we'll still need to add the bottom piece. We are down to the very last pieces, and we're going to assemble the legs. I've already done stitching, but you do the stitching on these pieces the same way you do the stitching on the other pieces. So we have this die. We have the stitching inserts. You can see I have Best Ever Craft tape on the back holding the stitching inserts in place. So you can cut this die like this with the stitching inserts and stitch it. And you can also cut it like this without the stitching inserts. I felt like stitching was super fitting here because the stitches actually remind me of shoelaces. So that is very, very clever. I'm going to adhere these two pieces together because I want there to be black color behind the die cut holes. I don't want the holes to be see-through. So I'm adding glue, again, using that fine nozzle of my Barely Art glue and gluing these together. Okay. Let me set a magnet on top so this is going to dry. Now we also have this die, and this creates little half circles. The half circles are going to make the front of our boots. Then we also have this die, and this creates the legs for our nutcracker. Okay, this part is not grabbing. Okay. Let's add a bit more glue. In fact, if you want to, you can even use a foam square here to pop the front of the boot up a bit more. So there's more dimension to that. But I'm just going to stick it down with glue. Next, I'm going to add the legs to the boots. Again, you can cut these from many different colors of cardstock. I have seen examples of these, well, not examples, like illustrations of the nutcracker where these were made from white or red. I wanted to have a bit of green, so this is why I'm using green. Now, we also need to add one more piece in between the legs and the torso, and that piece is cut using this die. That's the very first die that I showed you, or one of the first pieces that I showed you guys. Here I have some that I cut from different colors of cardstock because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I'm thinking I might go like this. So I went ahead and I used this die with the stitchable insert, and I adhered it onto a solid piece, but I didn't do any stitching, just like I did on the crown piece here. And then I added the legs, and our nutcracker is done. Oh my gosh, I love this die. Okay, now that this is ready, let's go ahead and make a cute card. To create this card, I decided I needed to die cut one more nutcracker because I wanted to use the season's greetings from our house to yours sentiment. I die cut another nutcracker. I used a slightly lighter color of cardstock. This is rainforest. Everything else was cut from the same colors of cardstock. I also embellished the card using green color essential gems. I love these gems. They have they're like this warm green, like a yellow green. So I feel like they work really well with everything else here. The sentiment here was created using the Better Press plate from my City Holiday collection. I foiled this using gold foil, and the foiling was done on the brushed white cardstock. I just love that paper. And you guys, if you have been following me for some time, you know how much I adore this cardstock. So I have the brushed white here. I also have the brushed black. I feel like I already mentioned it, but it doesn't hurt to mention this again. Anyhow, this is a look at my card featuring day 12 of the 12 days of Stitchmas Advent Calendar with Spellbinders. Here's a look at my second card. Here I went with a totally different color combination. I have teal topaz, seaside, wild berry, and blush. And I skipped stitching altogether. I want to show you that you can use the stitching dies even without stitching. Now here, I also wanted to extend my nutcracker and make him a little bit taller. So I used the arm dies to die cut the legs. You can see that these are taller than the legs here. They're also skinnier a bit. For the sentiment, I went with Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. This is from the same set as the Season's Greetings set. And I also embossed a background using the molded frame embossing folder just to add a little bit of interest and some playfulness to this card. I embellished my card using the Capri Blue Color Essential Gems, and I love the final result. So that's it. That's a look at the 12 different dies in the Spellbinders Stitching Advent Calendar. I had so much fun creating with these dies. I had a lot of fun opening each of the windows, looking at the different surprises, brainstorming different color combinations, and so on. It's a fabulous Advent calendar. You can get one for yourself or for a crafty friend. And again, even if you're not into stitching, you can see that you can do so much with the stitching dies and skip stitching, and these die sets or die cuts are still going to look phenomenal anyway. Anyhow, thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and hopefully I'll be back again with another video or another project. See you soon. Bye.